Hi, Giulio here. This is Have a Go Spaghettio. Have a Go Spaghettio is a pedagogy, an early childhood focus on social, emotional, behavioural, psychological well-being, promotion, teaching, and it's based on rational emotive behaviour therapy theory developed by Albert Ellis, who said a long time ago that the future of psychotherapy is in the school system. So here we are. So today's question or topic is who is or what is the rational emotive behaviour educator? Well, the first thing we need to get our heads around and understand if we are a rational emotive behaviour educator is to appreciate and understand the theoretical underpinnings of Have a Go Spaghettio. So it's based on psychotherapy, a theory of psychotherapy or a counselling modality called rational emotive behaviour therapy, developed by Albert Ellis. But within that, there's the counselling paradigm that Ellis developed based on his extensive reading and research, which included the Stoic philosophers. So the idea that what happens to us and how we respond emotionally and behaviorally to an event is not just a function of what happens, it's got something to do with us, our formulated, constructed beliefs. What do we believe? Or what are our thinking rules that are linked to how we feel and how we behave? And Have a Go Spaghettio is about helping little children develop helpful, rational thinking rules. And we call those thinking rules success helper rules or brain friend thinking rules. The other theory on which Have a Go Spaghettio is based, and rational emotive behaviour therapy itself is connected to, is general semantics theory developed by Alfred Korzybski. And he formulated the notion or the idea or the theory that our emotional and behavioural upset is linked to our language, semantic distortions, if you like, when we use language that doesn't best represent reality. He is famously known for the term the map is not the territory. And what we think about, how we think about things, are not the things themselves. So as an example, if a child thinks that perhaps they might be dumb or stupid, that's just a verbal representation of who you are, but we can't be dumb. We have so many qualities, competencies, characteristics, none of which individually can define us. So the idea that I can be dumb is, according to general semantics theory, causes our upset. So REBT, rational emotive behaviour therapy, is based on Stoic philosophy, but it's also strongly connected to general semantics theory. So as an educator myself and as a counsellor, rational emotive behaviour counsellor, how we use language, for what purpose, and being aware of the meanings or that we're conveying is something that we pay attention to. And through Have a Go Spaghettio, we can help early childhood teachers and counsellors use language more efficiently. So this is the Have a Go Spaghettio Rational Emotive Behaviour Educators Toolkit. It's a basic kit here. It's the Have a Go Spaghettio chart, 6 competencies or capabilities that we want to teach our children, a pedagogy, a way of teaching and learning in the early childhood context. I Can Cooperate, Good Day Mate is about relationships, friendships, cooperation, empathy. It's not saying, for instance, like everyone has to be your friend, but you respect each other as fellow human beings. Give It a Try, Banana Pie is about developing internal locus of control. We talk about behaviour management, and some of our work is about managing behaviour when children need that guidance. But the end goal is to help children self-regulate, self-manage. So Give It a Try, Banana Pie is about internal locus of control, developing high frustration tolerance, being able to focus on things without giving up or stopping too readily. I'm Ready with My Teddy is about managing my time, having the things I need at my disposal when I'm doing stuff. It's about organisation, really. I Can Keep Coolio at Schoolio is about self-regulation again, understanding when my feelings are not helpful, they're extreme, and how my thinking might be connected to that. And also developing other strategies to help myself calm down. I can keep coolio at schoolio. It's developing high frustration tolerance, and children who can manage frustration, tolerate frustration, and who are internally controlled, generally are more confident, because they'll be in control. I'm worthwhile crocodile thinking or believing is what Albert Ellis calls unconditional self-acceptance, the idea that your opinion of me or how well or badly I do at something cannot define me. It just doesn't make sense. It's irrational. So an opinion about me is not me. And a lot of children I've worked with in the past have believed that the labels that other people give them is indeed them. So this causes a lot of angst, or what Albert Ellis calls upsetness. So I'm worthwhile crocodile thinking is unconditional self-acceptance, very important capacity, habit of believing to develop. And of course, everyone's okay, hey, if we if we combine I'm worthwhile crocodile thinking with I can cooperate, good day, mate thinking, yellow and red, it makes orange. So again, it just reinforces the idea that I'm worthwhile, I respect myself, you're worthwhile, I respect you. And it's also the international colour of harmony. So there we go. Now on the right hand side, as I look at this slide, there's the emotional thermometer, so helping children to identify when they're feeling extreme feelings of unsettlement or upset, and being able to articulate how they're feeling. So if they're feeling 1 or 2 angry, it could indicate more annoyance rather than anger. So it's helping kids develop an emotional vocabulary. Extreme rage and anger is something where we're not in a position to make appropriate choices when we feel that way. So how do we manage ourselves when this happens? Now, early childhood students, they don't think about their thinking, or metacognize. They reach the stage of metacognition in the later primary years, between 12 and 15, and but in the meantime we can teach children the skills, some ideas about their thinking nature, and help them to when they get to the point where they can think about their thinking, they have the tools with which to do it. And on the left here is the catastrophe scale. When we catastrophize, we may tell ourselves that things are worse than they actually are. And of course, if we believe things are worse than they actually are, we will feel and act in an irrational way, as rational emotive behaviour therapy would say, or in a brain bully success stopper way, using the language of have a Go Spaghettio. So they're the basic tools of the rational emotive early childhood educator. So it's important to again revisit the ABC and E theory of emotional disturbance counselling paradigm. This is at the core of the Have Go Spaghettio pedagogy we talked about. It's about helping children understand that when something at A, an activating event, something happens, there is an emotional behavioural response to whatever it is that's happening. But it isn't just A that's causing how we feel and how we act. It's 2 is at work here, how we believe. What are our constructed belief rules? Are they brain friend, success helper thinking in the main, or are they brain bully, success stopper ways of thinking? So we teach children there's a relationship between what happens, how we think about what happens, and our emotional behavioural response. So this is the ABC theory of emotional disturbance provided by rational emotive behaviour therapy. It's a counselling paradigm, but in this sense we're taking a counselling paradigm modality and we're taking it into the classroom, and we're teaching children how to help themselves by way of this. D is disputation of irrational beliefs at B. So if children present with brain bully thinking, success stopper thinking, they present with extreme upset and emotional and behavioural inappropriate behaviour, then what are the beliefs that are driving that? What's brain bully telling them that's not true? For instance, if they believe they're dumb and stupid, that's a brain bully belief, but why is it? How do we dispute that? How do we challenge that? And that's what we do as counsellors, and that's what we do as educators. So 5 is when we develop an effective new way of thinking, a philosophy. So we may go from predominantly thinking at B that I can be done, which is irrational, success stopper, brain building thinking, to thinking that I am not other people's opinion of me, I'm okay no matter what, I'm worthwhile crocodile thinking, and hopefully this habit of thinking takes over the old one. So we have a new, effective, new philosophical outlook. That's the whole idea. We want children to start to develop a mindset that is based on rational thinking, and it's based on the evidence before them. And we're teaching children how do we accommodate the evidence that can challenge how they might be thinking in an irrational way, and to replace that thinking with more rational way of seeing things, success helper, brain friend way of thinking. So in a classroom setting, in a lesson, language lesson, how do we apply our knowledge of the ABC theory of emotional disturbance in a different way? We're not talking about the counselling context. We're talking about how do we use the ABC theory in the classroom. This is one way of doing it, and an example I'm using here is the book called Franklin is Bossy. So we can, when we read the book, we can together identify what happened in Franklin's life. And in this instance, it's he falls out with Bear. So he and Bear fall out because Franklin is telling everybody what they should and shouldn't be doing, and changing the rules when it suits him but not suits everybody else. So he's fallen out with Bear because of this. So in terms of C, how is he feeling? What is he doing as a consequence of falling out of friendship with Bear? He feels sad, he feels confused, annoyed, lonely, excluded, and unvalued. And here we would use the emotional thermometer to identify his feelings and how strong they are. They're not helpful. And his body language will suggest also that he's not helpful. And other behaviors. So at C, we're looking at behaviors and feelings as a response to A and what happened. So we're teaching kids the ABC theory of emotional disturbance. What might Franklin be thinking? He might think, well, no one likes me. If Bear doesn't like me, no one likes me. They're bad. They're all bad because they don't want to include me. I'm bad because I've done something wrong. It's unfair. It's awful. So awful I can't stand it. Here we might use the catastrophe scale to try and identify how bad the situation might be, bearing in mind that in Franklin's mind it's a particularly bad outcome, happenstance, because he's thinking in irrational or brain bully success stopper way. So here we have the A part of the ABC theory of emotional disturbance, what happened, how Franklin will be feeling and behaving at C, and B is how he might be thinking. So we get children to speculate on what Franklin might be thinking. And now we get to the D part. We engage the children with coming up with some ideas that will challenge B. Because remember, if we want to change B, we need to challenge it with the evidence. And I won't go into that in any great depth here, but things like the idea that no one likes you can't be true because, or doesn't seem to be true because in the story other people do want to be your friends. Because you've acted in a way that other people don't like. Are you a bad person? Because what you do and who you are not the same thing. So you can do bad, of course, Franklin, but you are not bad for doing bad. So we can change the way we behave. We can turn our bad behavior into better, more appropriate behavior. The idea that it's unfair and it shouldn't happen, well, it's happened, and so it should because it has. But how are we going to make things better? And it's so awful that he can't stand it. Well, it needn't be that awful. There are things that he can do. So we will talk about these things with the children. So there's the ABC theory of emotional disturbance using Franklin is Bossy, and you can apply the counselling paradigm we've been speaking about in all manner of different ways, through stories, videos, looking at debriefing what's happened after lunchtime with children, with events, let's look at that in terms of our knowledge of the ABC theory of emotional disturbance. So what's really pivotal here and very important is that as teachers, if we can get our head around what the ABC theory represents, what it's based on, and what its intent is, and if we can practice and get better at it ourselves, then we can help children help themselves. That's the idea. So that's just an example using Franklin's Bossy. And if you want to use that, the video of that is on that link on this slide. So they have a Go Spaghettio pedagogy, the approach to social, emotional, psychological well-being is based on rational emotive behaviour therapy. Specifically, we're looking as teachers, we're looking at employing the ABC theory of emotional disturbance to help us. So the have a Go Spaghettio approach is something that we can sing about and celebrate. I've usually finish my presentations using the Have a Go Spaghettio song, but it's important because it sets the day up. It reminds children that Have a Go Spaghettio thinking makes Have a Go Spaghettio feelings and behaviours. It helps us to be brain friends, success helper thinkers, and it helps us identify when brain bully or success stopper thinking is trying to get inside our heads, and we want to get rid of that. So there's the Have a Go song, and we sing that quite often. And we finished the presentation with a couple of Albert Ellis quotes, as we normally do. We teach people that they upset themselves, hopefully through our Franklin's Bossy example and a discussion before that. We appreciate that the extent of our upsetness, as Albert Ellis called it, is linked to how we interpret or think about what's happening. So if we can learn that we upset ourselves to a large degree, well, then we can learn to upset ourselves less by applying the Have a Go Spaghettio way of thinking. Self-esteem is the greatest sickness known to people because it's conditional. Albert Ellis argues that self-esteem is how good I feel when other people esteem me, or how well I do at stuff. So he's saying logically then, if significant others don't esteem you as you would wish to be esteemed or liked, then somehow that reflects badly on your sense of identity or your self-worth. He argues that self-esteem defines actually what conditional self-acceptance is, which is the antithesis of I'm worthwhile crocodile thinking. I'm worthwhile crocodile is unconditional self-acceptance. I accept myself even if you don't. So there we go. So that's the end of this presentation. For those of you who come upon it and who get through each slide, hopefully you'll be encouraged to apply it in practice. And if you do, I'd like to know about it. It would be good to get feedback. Thank you very much for listening, and see you next time. Have a Go Spaghettio and give it a try, banana pie. All the best.